Hey everybody, welcome back. And as I promised, our guest for today is George Dubec. And we're going to be talking a lot about how to get started in business. I mean, basically, you have a business, you have a great concept, but getting out there is a little bit harder. And you can spend a lot of money in advertising, and you'll probably realize that it's not going to be as effective sometimes as you may think. So there are other ways of doing it. So first, let's welcome George to the show. How are you doing, George?
Hey, I'm doing great today, Emma. Glad to be on your show and glad to provide some ideas, strategies, and wisdom to people in business. And sounds like especially people that are starting a business or a new project.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We all have this great idea. We all have the ambition to get out there and do it. But at the same time, we don't always know once we get it set up what to do after that. And I have found that some of the grassroots and social networking can be a very promising and effective way of getting out there.
Well, I'm involved heavily with startup companies, funding, scaling up mature companies, raising funds of all types. So we have I'm in South Florida. We have a lot of events going on a weekly basis down here for startup and founders that have inventions, ideas, projects. So I do have a lot of experience in it. One of the things that I noticed that most people that are startup people, they have a great idea, they're enthusiastic, they have great emotions, but a lot of them aren't really good at business. What the first thing I recommend is if you've got an idea, invention, or whatever, to find somebody with a business mind to partner with you, somebody that can, do the numbers, can help you out on a professional basis, even with legal stuff, because enthusiasm only goes so far. But people that are investing money, they want to get down to the numbers, the nitty gritty, where the rubber meets the road. So that's the one thing I recommend. You get a good business partner in your endeavor. So that would be a good way to start.
That's a good thing too. A lot of people want to do stuff and they need things, but they just don't have the money to do it. And I know that there are many ways of funding things. You got the SBA, you got some of these other, grassroots people that come in and fund you, and, you see things like on Shark Tank. What is some of the things that they should consider if they are going to be looking for some type of funding for their business?
Well, the number one thing when you're looking for funding is, first of all, don't waste your time in pitching your project to everybody that you run into. I find that's another fault because investors usually like to stay within their own arena of comfort. They like to be in their comfort zone. Like some guys just like real estate, some guys like crypto, some guys like entertainment, movies, film, TV. So if you're pitching your project, it's a high-tech project to somebody that likes entertainment, it's going to be a waste of time. So what you want to do is you want to figure out how do you target people that are already comfortable with your type of business. So that would be a good way to start there. Then the other thing is I highly recommend that everybody first hit up their referral network or their database of friends, family, people they know. I'm real big on referral marketing and matchmaking. In fact, even if you have a business, if a business owner would spend more time working on getting referrals from their customers than trying to get new customers, they would reduce their advertising budget considerably. But most business owners don't seem to do that. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons why. But that would be the good way to start. Target the people that are interested in your type of project and then use your own network to start with to not only maybe help you get the funding, but if they're not going to help you get the funding, they may know people that can help you get the funding. So that would be my first recommendation to get started.
Very good advice. I mean, I think that's kind of frustrating because sometimes people think like they need this, and this, and they sometimes talk themselves out of it, or like you said, they go to everybody because they want everybody to possibly invest, but it's not necessarily the case.
Right.
I know I wouldn't invest in something I have no idea about.
Yeah, and people don't realize also when you're putting together your pitch deck and your executive summary and then your one pager, I mean, those are all critical that you need to have to present to a potential investor. But one of the things we're finding out today is a simple elevator pitch video is even more powerful than any of the things I mentioned to just get their interest. Because people now don't even have time to read one page document. Like when somebody sends me something to read, I get so many things, I don't even have time to read one page. But if somebody sends me a 2-minute video, I can click it on and watch them. And that would be your bait to catch somebody's interest. Then you can send them the one pager, the pitch deck, and all the other stuff if they ask for it. But I highly recommend that people, the founder of the company or the invention or the project, get a really good 2 to 5 minute pitch video explaining who they are, what is the problem that their project or invention or product is going to solve, and why would people want it, and what is unique about it. And it's the old elevator pitch. In fact, there's a TV show called Elevator Pitch. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's a show kind of like Shark Tank, and you can apply to be on the show. And what they do is they have all the investors look at a 2 to 5 minute video, and then they decide if they'll have you on, if they want you on the show. And then when you go on the show, they actually put you in a fake elevator, and they put you in this elevator arena with a bunch of investors, and you got 2 to 5 minutes to pitch them on your project. So it's kind of an interesting concept.
It is an interesting concept, and honestly, that's got to be grueling for people. I mean, you get 2 to 3 minutes, and you're in front of all these people. I mean, that I don't know how people do it. I mean, I know it can be done because I've seen it done before, but you really have to know your stuff when you get in there.
Well, that again, a lot of what's happening in today's world, Emma, is that people are not as it's not as critical as coming up with projections and the numbers and how much money you can make. People are now investing emotionally in who they like, who they believe can actually make this work. So they're kind of investing not only in your product or idea, but they're investing in you. What they think is your ability to make this thing happen. So again, founders, their emotions, their feelings, how much effort they're going to put into it is very critical today to get investment money.
I remember my father when he was doing a lot of, he had his own business and was actually quite successful at it. And I look at how business was back then compared to how business is now, and it's changed quite a bit, obviously, because of the all the technology and stuff that's out there. But I still think that there's some rudimentary things that we did back then that are still kind of very much effective. And I know you mentioned something about like networking. Networking is a very important and kind of like a hands-on way to get in front of people, pitch your ideas, and network with other businesses to get people to know that you're in this area. What are some of the things that you would suggest people do to get out there? What type of networking events are there? Where can they look? Stuff like that.
Well, actually, the art of networking is something that is a lost art. It just isn't taught. Most people that are involved in training and motivational business skills and stuff like that focus on sales training. But very few people you find are training people on referrals and networking. And networking is probably more valuable than sales because you have to have a database of people to sell to. And I always tell people the number one starting point in any business, or even if you're a salesman, is to create a database. Now, when I go out and about and I'm meeting people every day, when I come home at night, I probably add anywhere from 2 to 10 new contacts. On everybody that I talk to, I get their contact information. Even if it's a grocer, a landscaper, Like a guy just came over to fix my air conditioning. So I got all his contact information. I put it in my database. I got his email. I got his phone number because maybe I might refer a customer to him or I might need him in the future or whatever. So attorneys, accountants, I have a list in categories of accountants, of attorneys. And people call me all the time and they say, hey, George, you got a good attorney. Do you have a good dentist? Do you have a, because they know I have this database. So that's a good starting point right there. Now, the next thing is if you're looking for investors and you go to a networking event or a fundraising event of any kind, what I recommend you do is call up the promoter or whoever is running the event, introduce yourself, tell them who you are, and ask them in advance if they know anybody they can help introduce you to that might be interested in your product or project. And that's something that I'd say 99.9% of people never, ever do. And that way, when you go to the event, you're not just randomly bumping into people, wasting your time talking to the wrong people. The person that's running the event might know somebody they can introduce you to, and that's all you need is one good contact at an event, and you're good. If you get one good contact, you've done your work.
Yeah, that's true. Now, when you also talk about networking, I know kind of like the younger generation, it's social media. But I know social media for business and personal are two different things. They work completely different. How can you utilize social media to be effective in your ways of networking with people?
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one. Like I have Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you have to really, really spend a lot of time to learn how to. You can use it, but you got to learn how to work it. You got to buy the premium upgrade package, and then you have to diligently work at trying to create relationships over LinkedIn. The other social media, I find that most people on Facebook and Instagram are more interested in the social aspect of social media. Anytime I post things up kind of about business, my viewership goes way down. And the thing that I found, you know what raises my viewership on my social media are animals, kids, good-looking women, and anything destructive. Like the other night, I was at a networking event and they had a Corvette, a brand new Corvette, and it had a special wrap on it. It's one of those wraps you put on cars. You can buy it and put it on and make it a different color. So this gal was giving spray paint cans to everybody, and you got to go over and spray the wrap with spray paint. So it's kind of like you're spraying a Corvette. Anyway, I posted that up, and I had like 1.5 million views of me destroy. I held up this can. I says, "Hey, watch me destroy this Corvette." And it's like it was one of the biggest viewerships I ever had. So I guess that's it. Or when I go to an event, I always find the most attractive gals, and I go over and take photos with them, and I post them up, and my viewership goes up. So I
Yeah.
hate to say it, but that's the what people are attracted to.
Yeah, it seems like sex always sells pretty well, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's yeah, it sure does. It's pervasive on social media, but yeah, as far as you really need to have a separate site that focuses on the business that you're in. If you try to mix your social site with a business with business things, it kind of doesn't work. It gets lost. So you got to set up a separate site that just focuses on your product, your service, your business, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that is a good point, and that's why I think a lot of people should really kind of look into groups or Facebook pages for their business, just because of the fact it does keep it separate. And sometimes we post things that are pretty weird on our Facebooks, like I'm pretty used to doing. So I mean, it's not something I want to go ahead and just kind of commingle or anything like that. But I like to make people laugh, so they're not going to understand what I do with my business at the same time. It's just
Right.
not
Yeah,
the
that's right.
smartest thing
It's
to do.
sort of counterproductive there. It messes things up. So yeah, keep them separate. That's the best thing to do. And then with social media, of course, if you can get any kind of well-known people in your area, celebrities, people that are on television, political people, to get involved in some of the things you post. That's another attractive thing that people gravitate to. Like again, if you have a local celebrity, like for example, my daughter-in-law is a celebrity up in Indianapolis. She's the number one weather girl on Wish TV. So anytime I post anything up with her on it, people take note. They take notice. It'll have Wish TV in the background. It'll be with me and my daughter-in-law. And again, so if you have any kind of business, if you can tie it into those kind of entities, it really does help people take notice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes those celebrity endorsements that you see on TV or something like that, sometimes people say it can be a little bit annoying, but at the same time, it's effective because you know them.
Yeah, that's it. Anybody that gets notoriety, good or bad, what do they say? Bad publicity is good publicity. So, and
It's really,
especially in today's world, I hate to say this, but I've been around a lot longer than you, and I've been through different decades, and I found out that in today's world, people lack the understanding of how to find good credibility in somebody to do business with. Even it's like kind of credibility went out the window. In fact, again, like if you came out of jail, if you've been in jail for some reason, people will still do business with you. Like 30, 40 years ago, if you were in jail, people wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. So times have changed dramatically.
yeah, they have. They truly have. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the books that you have too. You have a couple of books that you've written, and actually, you've created yourself a like a dating network, which is pretty cool. So let's talk about some of those real quick.
Well, yeah, I use, I always tell people my slogan is you can get anything you want in life by networking. You can get customers, you can get funding, you can get employees, you can get jobs, you can get advice, you can get resources and a date, and you can even get a mate. And I'll tell you my story. Back in 1979, I was a disco king. I had a three-piece white suit, black shirt, gold chains. I had big chops over here, big mop of hair. I was a great disco dancer. I had a Smokey and the Bandit Firebird. So at that time, I had a lot of dates. It wasn't a problem with dates, but I was always dating the wrong kind of girls. I always was dating what you would term hot chicks. You go into a disco and guys are visual. So the first thing you do is you go over and start approaching all the hottest looking girls in the club, right? That's a typical guy. So I'm dating all these girls, and I found out I don't like these kind of girls, these flashy, show-off type girls. So I said, how am I going to find a woman that I would like to live the rest of my life with? So I made a list of everything I wanted. Physical characteristics, personality traits, deal makers, deal breakers, background experience. I made a list, and this is back in 1978. We had no internet, no cell phones. I gave the list to my 10 best male friends. And I asked them if they meet somebody that meets this description to connect me. So 3 months later, my best friend calls me up. He says, I met this gal at a party. He introduced me, and we've been married now for 45 years. We got a beautiful daughter and granddaughter. So I used my social network to help me find the kind of woman I wanted to be with. And I recommend that. I call it referral matchmaking. I suggest everybody make a list. Give it to your family, your friends, your neighbors. Ask them if they know somebody that fits that description, and especially your female or male single friends. In fact, and also you can ask them to do the same thing and have them give their list to you. So maybe if you run into somebody, you can connect them.
Oh, that's an interesting concept. I mean,
Well, also, the other thing we do and we teach people how to do is the wingman concept. You know that one?
yep.
I always tell people when you go to a singles event, always have a friend with you, a male or female friend. And when you go there and you find somebody of interest, have that person go over and make the introduction on your behalf. And it's amazing. But That way you can meet anybody that you want, or you have the chance to meet anybody that you want at that event.
Interesting. Now, how would that work? I mean, what would your friend do? Would they go up there and say, "Hey, I got somebody that's like interested in you over here. Would you like to
Yeah,
speak to them?"
basically that's pretty much it. You walk over to the person, you introduce yourself, and say, "Hey, by the way, I hate to bother you, but my friend over there was mentioning that they thought you were an attractive person, and they'd be interested in meeting you." Now, the nice thing about that is your friend doesn't get rejection. You get the rejection for your friend, but you don't care. And your friend, it's a lot less powerful to get it indirectly than to get directly rejected, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
and here's the other cool thing about it, Emma. If you're a female, now I know that most females cannot walk up to a strange guy at Publix or, I mean, at a grocery store, at an event, or anywhere that they might be interested in because it's like you're approaching them and guys may take get the wrong impression of why you're coming over. So women in general don't approach men. But if you're approaching a guy for your friend, you can go up to approach any guy, right? Because it takes the onus off of that personal connection.
Interesting.
And here's the other twist. Maybe the guy that you're talking to introduce to your friend might like you more.
Yeah, that I've seen stuff like that happen. Like, oh, I kind of like you more. You know?
Yeah, right. Or
Yeah.
now you open up the conversation with them, and maybe it winds up being in your favor. So anyway, uh, that's what I recommend instead of doing the online dating and hoping and praying that somebody's going to come over and introduce themselves to you. And I tell people that, finding a good partner in life is a job. It's maybe the most important job in your life, and you got to take it serious.
Yeah, that is true. That
In
is really
fact,
true.
here's the other phrase I use: a good date does not make a good mate. You can meet somebody, have a great time, have a lot of fun, have great sex, but it does not mean that that's going to be a good person on the long term to be with you. So
Agreed.
I have a second step, which is called the interview process, where you actually need to interview people once you start to connect with them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people really put much thought into that. They
Wow.
just it's all about the looks, and honestly, that is usually the very first step in the door, but it's not the whole thing. And that's why I've had people hit on me and want to go on dates online, and I keep telling them, I'm like, look, that's fine, but I said I could be like the craziest person you ever meet, and unless I meet you in person, you could be the same thing. You may not like what I have to deal with, and I may not like you. So I don't know how people do it online, but I do believe that we need to have some of those conversations for sure.
Well, I used to have a 20-question interview. So once like, for example, the gal that I was introduced to by my friend, once we got together and we met, I gave her my 20-question interview. And it was interesting because at the time, she answered all my questions to my satisfaction. And I even told her, I'll never forget. I said, you know what? You would make a good wife someday. And I walked away and I thought, well, yeah, for me. And it worked out perfect. So she was the only gal that answered everything that I would ask. And at the time, I was 32 years old. I didn't want a smoker. I didn't even want a social drinker. That's a tough one. How many women out there are not even social drinkers? I didn't want anybody with pets. I wanted somebody that really revered their mother and father. They had a good family. Um, I had all these questions predetermined, psychologically set up to find out what I wanted from this person.
Interesting. And
Now,
honestly, that's
in reverse, Emma, after the fact, I asked my wife what she was interested in a guy. She had no list of questions. I was 32, she was 22. And she said she just wanted a guy that was tall, dark hair, and a hairy chest. So that was
simple,
her criteria.
very simple. Well, we got
Yeah.
about 3 minutes left, so I would love for you to be able to tell everybody where they can find you online, where they can look you up for any advice, hire you, whatever it may be that they're looking for.
Okay, yeah, my website is theultimatenetworker.com. They can get on my email list. They can find out where my books are. I've written 6 books. I'm on Amazon. I wrote the personal introduction book for singles. It has all my referral matchmaking information in it. I even have a game book that everybody loves. It's called Sexuality Probe. It's a list of 500 love, sex, romance questions. And then I have books on how to become the ultimate networker. So those are all on my website, theultimatenetworker.com. And also, Emma, I'm going to send you copies of or PDF copies of my books so you could enjoy some of the material.
Oh, I definitely love to look through it for sure.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, that is our interview today with George. I hope he gave you some good advice to be able to kind of go out there and start networking. Don't ever be afraid to get rejected. I mean, with no's of business, personal, whatever, because you may just actually like lose that opportunity that you're looking for by being too scared. So,
Yeah, well, also, let me just add one other thing. I did use the word rejected, but we don't phrase it that way. We say disinterest at that point in time because they don't have enough information about you. So that's a better way to phrase it.
that is a better way to phrase it. And
Okay.
with that, guys, I'm going to be taking a quick break. We'll be coming back to close out the show in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back after that.
Thank you, Emma.
Like, OMG, you were on TV and junk.